What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the rLounge. Estranged mom jumps to conclusions, thinks girlfriend is pregnant, and has epic meltdown. This is a retro one from the late 90s and the days of prevalent landline telephones. I, 19 male, was home with my parents over Christmas break from college. My girlfriend, 18 female, was a freshman and I was a sophomore. My home was a 3-hour drive from our college. Our school conducted sorority rush for freshman women who chose to participate at the end of Christmas break, so she had gone back a few days early to go through the process. My girlfriend and her friend group all targeted a single sorority where they wanted to land and decided to pursue that when the time came. It was, to my immature 19-year-old mind, the best sorority. I had already gone into a fraternity a year earlier when I was a freshman. As was the case in those days, she called every night during the process to tell me how it had gone. I knew she would definitely call on the fourth night because that is when they found out which sororities gave them the bids, and then they had to choose. So she calls the house line, and my estranged mother picks up. My estranged mother was unaware my girlfriend was going through rush. I wasn't trying to hide it, but it's just not something we had discussed as mother and son, for whatever reason. Anyhow, when my estranged mother picks up, my girlfriend is clearly distraught and crying. Estranged mother yells up for me to pick up the landline phone in my room, and I do. Girlfriend did not get into her preferred sorority. She received bids to all the other good ones. I know this seems stupid, vapid, and privileged as an adult, but to an 18-year-old, this can seem like a terrible event. She was sobbing and looking for comfort. As we're talking, my estranged mother comes rushing into my room screaming, "She's crying! Did you get her pregnant? Is she pregnant?" Estranged mother then proceeds to kick me and tell me, "I've ruined her reputation and the family's reputation." So, I have a sobbing girlfriend on the phone and an estranged mother who is absolutely losing her crap trying to literally kick my butt behind me. I hung up the phone, told the estranged mother to get out, and that it was nothing as substantial as an unplanned pregnancy, and to get the F out of my room, which she did in embarrassment. I then called girlfriend back, consoled her, helped her plan which sorority she wanted, and turned my attention back to the estranged mother. Estranged mom was supremely embarrassed, but defensive, saying, "She was just concerned about me." I told her not to jump to conclusions in the future, but she was exceptionally defensive of her stupid actions. This was my first lesson that estranged mom was not meant to be a parent to adult children, and ultimately led me to going low contact with her a few years later. Thanks for reading. Hope you enjoyed. First reaction from Minflick. My mother-in-law was somewhat prone to jumping to conclusions, and one day, dear husband asked her if she got all her exercise jumping to conclusions. Boy, was she mad at him. It did slow her down, though. Informal Garlic 2285 chimes in, "That's quite the conclusion to jump to, though. There could have been a million other reasons for your girlfriend to be crying. She sounds unstable jumping to pregnancy just because your girlfriend was sad, especially when neither one of you uttered the word pregnant." The OP responds, "I know. I was completely caught off guard. I was thinking, the hell are you freaking out about?" On to the next story. A little family entitlement. Hi, first-time poster. Any grammar mistakes are mine. Haven't written at length for a while. EM, mother. ES, sister. Me. Note, EM loved to brag about her great parenting skills, to defend whatever nonsense she was doing that day. That's how I know what she used to do to me before I was 4 or 5, when my memory started. Father used to back her up during these tirades. Growing up, I lived with constant gaslighting. I didn't know which way was up most of the time, and had very little skill or opportunity to deal with the daily abuse I suffered at the hands of my family. It didn't help that my EM and my ES felt entitled with no basis in reality. My parents were young, 18, 19, and wanted 2 kids, a boy and a girl. They had my brother just after my EM finished high school, and my ES and I a couple of years later. They could only afford to live on their own because my father's father gave them a house with a less than $100 a month mortgage. EM said several times, "We deserve it. Father is his only son, so he should be doing more for us." Problem is, they didn't know EM was having twins. When I was born, EM was devastated. Our perfect little family was ruined. She immediately started treating me as an unwanted whipping girl. She started training my ES in the ways of entitlement early. ES finishes her bottle early and cries, "Give her the rest of mine." ES wants second at dinner, and there is no food left over? Switch my plate with ES. I was a slow eater as a kid. If the grocery budget wouldn't cover treats for ES and EM, send me to bed without supper a few nights a week. I remember watching my EM polish off an entire bag of Oreos, then tell me there was no food for me tonight. By the time I was 6, the food imbalance had gotten so bad that I was a few inches shorter than my twin, and clothes for my height would fall off of me. If I ever complained, it was, "ES is more important than you. Stop trying to take food out of her mouth." By the time we were in high school, ES thought the world revolved around her and would yell or hit me if I threatened the world view. EM let ES take control of my closet so I could only wear what ES wanted me to wear. "Because you can't look like her," EM reasoned. At high school, when you came back from sick time, you had to report to all your teachers to get your makeup work. If you had a sibling in the school, they were supposed to visit your teachers and get the work for you. If ES was sick, I'd get all her assignments. Since we were in many of the same classes, she insisted I let her copy my homework when she was sick, with EM's blessing. If I was sick, she claims there was no homework, or refused to share what it was if I caught her doing it. I'd have to come back to school, ask for assignments, and be told, "We gave it to ES, and she said you weren't very sick and would turn it all in today." They'd get mad and often give me until the end of the day to finish, which was against school policy, but I was too abused to even think of fighting. I got sick of everything. My parents both said that I would have to move out at 18, but brother and ES were free to stay as long as they want. I took them up on it. After high school, I started dating an abusive man nearly 10 years older than me. I moved in with him a little over a month after my 18th birthday. ES screamed at me. I was supposed to get an apartment for her with a bedroom of her own and pay for all her bills, including internet access, not cheap in the early 1990s. She stopped speaking to me for several months at a time. Each time we started talking again, it would take 2 to 4 hours before she'd start yelling at me about not supporting her, and to the level of comfort that she wanted. Why was I supposed to do this? Because I was the spare, and I should work pay so she, the proper child, didn't have to. I finally broke off contact with the whole lot of them after my EM made me cry, then laughed. I asked why she was laughing. "Because it's good to have someone to kick." I was aghast, and it took me a few minutes to challenge her. EM just smugly smiled and said, "You'll always be at the bottom. You only exist for me to kick." Every few years, EM would write or email me saying, "We'll take you back. We forgive you." Excuse me, cutting you out of my life was the healthiest thing I've ever done. I don't need to be forgiven for that. I've blocked them, moved, and changed accounts and numbers. Haven't heard from them in a while. So nice. Edit. OMG, I expected 10 upvotes at best. You guys rock. Thanks for all the kind comments. I tried to stick to just the entitled behavior, not the general abuse I got. I'll have to find a subreddit to put the rest in. All the entitled, abusive people are out of my life, and I try not to let any new ones in. Our first reaction comes from SCP-354-2. "Oh my effing god, OP, what kind of abuse that you went through is one of the worst. I'm a whole bunch of so's, sorry for what you went through. Oh gosh. And I'm very glad that you finally took maybe the 3 of them out of your life for good, and also, if they see this post, they can go F themselves." Or Sanju1234 says, "Your sister is going to suffer in the real world." The OP responds, "She did. She blew through a minor trust fund her junior year of college. Instead of paying for the last year, she put herself up as an internet bride on alt personals. She had no parasites as a condition in her post. I said this was so she'd be the only parasite in the guy's life. She found someone and flew across country to get married. It lasted a few years. She alienated him from his large Italian family. Then, her hubby knocked up another woman and opted to marry baby mama instead. ES's mother-in-law used to talk to EM. Mother-in-law was so embarrassed about her son's divorce that she lied to my EM for at least a year, saying how happy the couple was. From what I pieced together via social media, Sis got a job, finished her college with a law degree, and eventually found an older guy that she seems to be happy with. I check every few years, and she seems happy. No idea if she's still entitled. I hope not. On to the next story. Entitled father wants to claim one of the kids on his taxes. Background. Currently going through divorce proceedings with my soon-to-be ex. Long story short, he was a part-time parent that made more time cheating than being an actual father. I have been the primary caretaker for our kids, always paid for their childcare costs, medical expenses, and anything you can think of. I paid it. Now on to the story. With tax season in full swing, I asked my ex what his plans were for taxes. He did not want to do married filing jointly due to the separation, but insisted that he claim one kid and I claim the other. Problem here, as noted in the background, he has never contributed to the kids' well-being their entire lives. When I pushed back on that, he became enraged and claimed we contributed to our kids' well-being equally. Yeah, no. My ex only started paying child care costs in the last half of the year because the courts ordered him to. I still pay for everything else. He's more focused on a tax credit than being a present father. Father of the year, everyone. Our first reaction comes from SkyDiamond01. File your taxes first with both kids. He can take it up to the courts. Until then, you are the primary parent. Maybe check with your lawyer just to make sure you don't get in trouble. OP responds, I already reached out to a tax specialist in addition to my attorney to cover all bases here. I was just blown away at the audacity of this man. CA Girl 17 says, my ex tried and still sometimes tries to do the same thing with our daughter. Dude is behind thousands in child support, and I pay for pretty much everything. He also rarely sees her. Told him to go kick rocks, or we can bring it back to court if he wanted.